观众朋友您好，欢迎收看华尔街连线，我是主持人蒋洋洋。中国国家统计局周一1月21日公布了2018年经济数据，全年国内生产总值 GDP 90万亿元人民币，比上一年增长了 6.6%。尽管实现了中国政府年初设定的 GDP 增长 6.5% 的预期发展目标，但却是中国28年以来最低的经济增长率。外界长期以来质疑中国经济数据的真实性，尽管如此，官方公布的数据依然反映出中国经济的放缓迹象。对此，我们采访到了越南胡志明市富布赖特大学中国问题专家鲍尔丁，他曾经在北京大学深圳汇丰商学院任教9年，对国际贸易和中国宏观经济有深入的研究。并且他在 Balding world 发表一篇关于 GDP 的分析，采用了统计学的方法来回归真实的 GDP。 关于 GDP 的真实性，我们来听听他怎么说。
I don't think Chinese data is reliable, and I think, as you hit upon, when we see numbers like household expenditure in food rising a little over 4%, and then we see retail sales in food rising more than 10%, those numbers are so different as to be very concerning. As economists, we expect numbers to not match perfectly. So if we had household expenditure in food rise 4% and retail sales in food grew something like, say, 5%, that's an acceptable difference. However, in China, a lot of the data is just so different that it presents very real problems in saying that the data is accurate.
那为什么中方对 GDP 的数字会如此重视呢？导致 GDP 会有注水的情况。而对中国而言， GDP 和就业、失业，甚至是社会稳定、社会心理上存在着某种联系吗？我们来听听他怎么说。
Yeah, so what they've done in that specific instance, in a lot of sectors at the beginning of 2018, they changed their sampling, and so what they did is they dropped a lot of the firms that had not grown as fast or had shrunk, and so consequently, what they were essentially doing is they were measuring all the firms that had grown very rapidly and saying, we're producing these wonderful growth numbers. And so that, in a statistical sense, that means we're biasing the data. Yes, absolutely. I think there is an enormous relationship, at least in the mind of the government, as pertains to social psychology and social stability. They have staked a lot of their credibility as to being very good economic managers, that they will provide social stability. So if the data does not reflect that, that is going to be a real problem for their credibility as government managers. And one of the things as an economist that is so interesting here is countries go through economic fluctuations. There are years where the growth will be better and years where the growth will be a little bit worse. Sometimes you even have a recession. And the Chinese data is so astoundingly does not change that it really creates a credibility problem for statisticians looking at this going, well, we expect numbers to move just by the natural way that they move. But it does appear as if the government has staked so much of its credibility that they have to promote stability in the economic data, even if it's entirely unrealistic.
基于他的模型，他从几个方面来印证了 GDP 数据的真实性。第一是数据逻辑是否内洽，他提到几乎所有消费品增长都呈负增长、持平或者低位数增长，然而零售和批发却增长 9%， 这在逻辑上是不合理的。第二点是看部分的统计数据加起来是不是等于总体的 GDP。 根据他的研究，建筑业和大多数工业部门的基础数据都不能与总体的 GDP 数据相匹配。第三种是看统计取样漏洞，中国官方公布的数据会剔除一些盈利差的企业，只选一些数据特别漂亮的企业。 他的方法是仍然以官方的数据为基点，如果发现不实或者矛盾的地方，再按个例处理纠正。我们再来看看。
So my preferred method is to provide a range as to what I think GDP would be, and the reason is that as outside economists, we simply don't have the level of detail to make good, confident statements about what the actual level of GDP are. Other firms will do that, but I don't think we really, as outside economists, have the level of detail necessary, even with big data type of people. My personal viewpoint is using official type data as to, for instance, how much we saw consumer spending go up, output of consumer goods, different things like that. I think you're probably looking at a GDP range of about 2 to 5%. I think 5 is probably a little bit on the high side. I would be surprised if it was really much if it really fell beneath 2. I'm aware of the Tsinghua University professor that said it might have been 1.67%, and I think that's a very good faith estimate. My personal is that it was probably in the low mid-single digits, probably in the 2 to 4% range.
从投资到消费支出，再到工厂的活动，中国经济在去年下半年明显的下滑。在贸易战进一步带来麻烦之前，中国经济可能已经出了问题。汽车销售大幅下滑是中国经济放缓的最大因素之一，这一趋势对上游供应链造成极大的影响。中国经济下降，并且对国际经济产生了重大的影响。
I think there's a number of factors that are kind of contributing to the overall economic environment. The big one that I think most people are very well aware of is the debt level. If China has, let's say, most companies and individuals are paying an interest rate of, let's say, 5 to 7%, based upon the level of debt, it costs roughly 20 to 25% of GDP to service that debt level. That's a very high debt level. By comparison, the United States, Europe, and Japan probably pay about less than 5% of GDP to service debt. That's a very different debt level. I think another thing is that the working age population in China started contracting probably around 2011, 2012. So you just have a lot fewer people that are joining the workforce. I think another factor is, and we saw this in the data, is that real estate pressures costs are so much now for the average person that is placing real pressure on their ability to consume significantly in other parts. Housing expenditure in households was up almost 15% last year. And so what we saw was expenditure in food and clothing was up only about 4 to 5%. So if people weren't spending almost 15% more on housing, they could spend more money in other areas, which would do more to drive the economy forward, but they can't do that. I think especially in the fourth quarter, another factor was that I do think there is evidence that the global economy is slowing. We're looking at the economies in Asia, from Thailand to Indonesia, South Korea, and Japan, are reporting significantly lower trade numbers. So that's going to impact the Chinese economy. So I really think, to sum up, you have a range of factors from very structural, like population, to very cyclical, like the trade numbers we're seeing.
现如今，中国央行在发钱、减税降费、加快基建项目的审批速度，这些对经济复苏有帮助吗？中国现在应该又做哪一些有效的改变呢
So I think there's a lot of talk of VAT and income tax cuts. We haven't seen those be realized yet. I think that's the expectation. Maybe they will be announced over the Chinese New Year. Everybody's waiting on those. I think there's a lot of surprise that they weren't announced at the Central Economic Working Commission. I think I personally still expect personal and VAT taxes, but we haven't seen that for sure yet. I think the consumer. I don't think cuts to VAT and income taxes are likely to stimulate the economy very much. And I say that primarily because with housing going up so much, a lot of any additional money would most likely be used more to save or cover higher residential costs rather than increase consumption, whether it was with a new car or more clothing or things like that. So I'm not sure that cutting consumption taxes is likely to raise overall consumption that much. I think one of the biggest things is, and you see the government talking about this a lot, you see a lot of analysts within China talking about this a lot, is what they're calling, market neutrality. How much Beijing favors state-owned enterprises over private enterprise. And I think this is a very serious problem. And even though Beijing has talked about this for many years, the problem has really continued to worsen. I think if Beijing really wants to stimulate economy and move itself away from the credit-driven economy where they're constantly trying to invest more and more to drive GDP, they need to engage market forces by increasing competition, by allowing private enterprise to play a bigger role, because they simply can't continue to invest more and increase credit more to drive GDP.
那中美贸易战又对经济下滑的影响有多大呢？有经济学家认为，影响 GDP 在 0.5% 左右，而我们的嘉宾鲍尔丁却认为，真正造成中国经济下滑的不是贸易战，贸易战可能只是其中一个很小的因素，并不像人们所说的，贸易战给中国经济带来重创。
I think 0.5 might be a little bit high. But I don't think, I would probably say the estimates I lean a little bit more towards would probably be, say, 0.2 or 0.3% of GDP. I think what is a much larger impact is China, Beijing, to their credit, is trying to deleverage. They're trying to slow the rate of credit growth in China. They're trying to move the economy away from constant increases in credit and investment. And in 2018, the slowdown in credit was roughly 30 times larger than the direct impact of the trade war with the United States. So I think that is playing a much larger impact, and we still don't have a clear idea as to what Beijing policy is going to be for 2019. They've talked about wanting to increase credit to specific sectors of the Chinese economy. They've also talked about wanting to make sure that credit doesn't grow too rapidly. So we're still a little bit fuzzy as to what their real intentions are, and I don't think we really know why they're holding back economic policy announcements. Maybe it has to do with the trade war. Maybe it has to do with wanting to announce some of this over Chinese New Year. But I think a lot of analysts are still waiting on what is Beijing going to do to stimulate demand.
眼看着90天的期限就要到了，应美国财长姆努钦和贸易代表莱特希泽的邀请，中国副总理刘鹤下周1月30日至31日将访问华盛顿，就中美经贸问题进行最后的磋商。如果谈不拢，美国将会把税率从10%提高到25%，而这会对中国有什么实质性的打击呢
？I'm personally a little less optimistic about the possibility for a trade deal for both sides. As we've seen, for instance, the ongoing Huawei dispute, it seems very, very difficult that Chairman Xi could make a deal to settle the trade dispute while that was going on. I think that's very difficult. I think on the Trump side, the Trump administration seems likely to continue to push a lot of these issues that are basically red lines for Beijing that they seem unwilling to cross, such as opening up the tech sector in China. They seem unwilling, for instance, to drop the Huawei case. There's other smaller cases that they seem unwilling to drop. So I think the overall environment is not necessarily conducive to reaching an agreement, though it's possible that could be that all these issues could be part of some larger deal. But I don't think the overall environment is positive looking at a possible trade deal. In reality, I think one thing that a lot of people are overlooking here is that the direct impact to China is actually relatively minimal. And what I mean by that is actually 2018 in trade terms for China was one of the best years that they've had for many years. Okay, total trade was up almost 20%, 15 to 20%. I forget the exact number, but it was really one of the best years trade-wise of the decade. So the direct impact to China of the trade war is actually relatively minimal. Where the trade war is having a much bigger impact is in overall confidence in the Chinese economy. And I think what you have seen is you've seen that there's been a significant drop in the overall impact, a significant drop in the confidence within China in the economy. In the leadership of the economy, in confidence in the stock market, a lot of other things like that. And that is having a very big impact on investment decisions, production decisions. So even though the direct impact of tariffs and how that's impacting exports to the United States is relatively minimal as a percentage of the overall economy, it's having a significant impact in the confidence and the decisions people are making within China and how they make business decisions.
然而，面对经济学家们的质疑，中国发改委新闻发言人孟伟却引用数据反驳外界的质疑，称去年的实物量数据、关联数据都可以有力地支撑全年经济增长6.5%左右。孟伟指出，从实物量数据来看，2018年全社会用电量按年增长8.5%，煤炭消费增加1.5亿吨左右，天然气更是大幅增长400多亿方，增速17%以上。全社会货运量增长7%左右，实物量指标是经济增长最直接的反应。这一些实物量数据可以有力地支撑全年经济增长数据。他表示，从关联数据来看，去年的工业、投资和消费、出口增速与支撑6.5%左右的增速的数据都是匹配的。感谢您收看《华尔街连线》。